What's up, everybody? It's your bro. It's the Yellow Boy here for Bros, Brews, and Botches. And we just watched NXT 2.0's In Your House, a show where things happened. Well, as you can see, it's solo dolo with me tonight. Unfortunately, we have Hogs Wars out and getting his Wamplers sausage fix. And actually, OHB is producer for the night. So he's got a little bit of time off from being on camera. But I'm here. We're here to bring you the review, the results of NXT in your house. So I can tell you right now, I wasn't invested too much into the show. Um, since it changed to 2.0, NXT hasn't been the same as the old black and yellow. So the storylines don't enthuse me. If it's your thing, then by all means, you watch it, you enjoy it. Just because it's not my thing doesn't mean it doesn't have to be your thing. We have different likes, but it was a show. The wrestling did not suck. The storylines with it, yeah. Anyway, the show started. The opener was Legado del Fantasma versus Tony D, Tony D'Angelo, and his crew, which consisted of Stacks and Two Dimes. And the winner of the match were going to assimilate into the other's crew to figure out who was the Don of NXT 2.0. It was a match that it was a good way to start off the show, number one, because Legado del Fantasma have been there for a while. They're very exciting. Of course, a lucha style of wrestling. And, you're expecting high flying, which you got from all members of Legado del Fantasma. Of course, they came with Electra Lopez outside the ring. Um, it it did what it needed to do as an opener. It got the crowd excited, got the crowd hyped. Um, I was watching the show with Over Here Boy, and he, like I, were wondering why Legado del Fantasma aren't on the main roster yet. Additionally, with the two teams, it seems like every few years, WWE, whether it's NXT or main roster, has a mafia group and some form of Latinx group that does something. This so happens to be on NXT. However, the match comes to a conclusion. The finish occurs as Santos Escobar receives brass knuckles from Electra from the outside. Um, I believe it was Two Dimes who grabbed a crowbar from outside. He went to attempt to, well, he gets brained by the brass knuckles in the corner and drops his crowbar, which then Tony D'Angelo picks up the crowbar and hits one of Legado del Fantasma, knocks him out. Two Dimes just falls, literally falls for the victory on top of a member of Legado del Fantasma. And Tony D'Angelo and his guys wins. Forget about it. Gabagool. Now you have bigger group for D'Angelo. Don't care. Next match. So the next match was the women's tag team match for the title. You had Toxic Attraction, which is Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Case. I was about to call her Casey Catanzaro. She's no longer that. She's Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. All these K's, don't get it, whatever. All these rebranding. WWE has to rebrand everybody because no one can keep their own name. That's fine. Um, I will say Toxic Attraction seemingly getting a little bit better. There was no problem with Gigi Dolan. However, JC Jane shows that she was green. Of course, with Casey and Katana, they always, or excuse me, Kaden and Katana, they always seem to have very flip-de-doo matches. I like flip-de-doo matches from women, so you know what I mean. It was great. It seems like most of the match they singled out Katana Chance, so that the hot tag come to Kaden Carter, which Kaden and Katana does a lot of double team moves, which their finisher, I love their finisher, the 450 with the neck breaker, really cool move. for two women to hit. I thought this would have been the chance that Kaden and Katana would have won the championships. However, Gigi Dolan hits a belly to back suplex. I mean, that just looked like Kaden Carter just landed on the side of her neck. It looked really brutal. It was good sell, and that was enough to keep the tag belts on Toxic Attraction. Again, match was fine. There was a couple of botchy areas, but it's fine for what it was. It's NXT 2.0, y'all. Which goes into the next championship match. There's a lot of championship matches on here, and very few belts changing hands. So next match was Carmelo Hayes versus Cameron Grimes to the moon, which Cameron Grimes is the North American champion. Carmelo Hayes, of course, you know, if you've been following NXT, that Carmelo Hayes is um, his mentor is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels fancies him very much so, believes he's going to be a star on the main roster. He looks like money. Of course, he came to the ring with Trick Williams. I don't understand the need for Trick Williams in the match with him on ringside, but he's there. And it was a lot of outside interference from Trick Williams throughout the match, which, talking to OHB while watching the show, that seemed to also be a theme of the entire premium live event, was a lot of outside interference. Um, but nonetheless, Trick Williams at one point tied Cameron Grimes's wrist to the second rope. He was interfering throughout the match. Um, However, it was a flying leg drop to the back of Cameron Grimes's head to crown for the second time a brand new North American champion, which is Carmelo Hayes. So one title that's changed hands in three matches. So there you go. Next match, it did not suck. There you go. Next match for the women's NXT championship. You had, and I'm sorry, Cultaholic, I have to steal this from Ross. You had Mandy Rose versus Wendy Chu, and Wendy Chu, not from being a 7,000, 10,000 year old dragon lady to being a sleepy lady in coveralls all night, like you'd like the um, Big Trouble in Little China, the 10,000-year-old dragon lady, to now being Sleepy Time. Wendy Chu, which she's very over with the crowd with her moves and such, where she's very childlike. The interesting entrance for Wendy Chu, they did the recap, which WWE, their production team, they're always great with recaps and their production's always on point. It rolled into her intro where she was making like she was asleep in bed, and she wakes up as the last image was her being crowned the NXT Women's Champion, and she wakes up and she goes to the ring. um Mandy Rose shows up in a Bentley because money, and she's so sexy. I mean, God, she's so sexy. At least that's what they're trying to push on you with WWE. Her and Toxic Attraction. That's their gimmick. It's much like the TNA crew back in the day with what was it? Angelina Love and all it's the same thing. I mean, you got TNA guys in the back anyway that's producing the show, so they were like, "Hey, this worked 10 years ago. Let's try to bring that back up and make it something new." Whatever. If it's your thing, if you're a 65 and above year old man, I think it's your thing because that's the demographic that's going up. You got horny old men watching the show. If that's what you like, fine. I like to see some wrestling on my show. So anyway, you had Mandy Rose versus Wendy Chu. Mandy Rose, it was back and forth. I mean, Mandy Rose, to give her credit, she's gotten a lot better with some of her moves. She's always been able to sell her moves very well. That was even when she was on the main roster and then coming back over to NXT, selling those moves. She's been really good at. There was a point in the match where I watched Mandy Rose give a good spiz biz. spine buster, and really it looked really good for Mandy Rose. But again, with the childishness of Wendy Chu, she brought a pillow in the ring, and Mandy Rose destroyed her pillow, throwing stuffing all over the ring, which enraged Wendy Chu. She got really mad. She hulked up and got upset. She was going for her sleepy elbow from the top rope. She took off whatever the little jumper that she had on and wrapped it around her waist, and that was to her fall, because Mandy used the arms of the jumper to flip Wendy Chu off the top rope, and then she hit that bicycle kick, that finisher bicycle kick to win. Mandy Rose retains her NXT championship. Again, decent match. Now, I don't want it to seem like I didn't enjoy the show, because the wrestling on the show was very enjoyable. However, again, I cannot stress how much I do not care about anything that happens moving forward with the storylines. The wrestlers are great, no discredit to any of the wrestlers, but their storylines suck butt. So there was a backstage segment, excuse me, with Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez, the former Roxy. They're having their finals of that women's tournament on Tuesday on NXT television. They had the backstage segment. They're building for that. Fantastic. Follows into the next match, which was probably the best match of the night, which was expected. It was the Creed brothers versus Pretty Deadly for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Like, the Creed brothers are super mega over, and they're really organically turning into a super white hot baby face team. White meat baby faces. Like, the crowd didn't see them do any wrong throughout the match. It was whatever they did, and it was very heavily grapple style wrestling oriented, because it's the Creed brothers, and they were putting them in alligator rolls and just grips and stuff like that. So um I know that the Creed brothers were very dominant during the beginning onset of the match, which then led to Pretty Deadly getting some double team maneuvers on, I believe it was Julius, until Brutus received the hot tag. I think the spot of the night was Brutus Creed. After Julius hits a move on one of the Pretty Deadly guys, Brutus gets on the top rope, and in my mind, I knew what was about to happen because of who he was, who he is, and who he kind of are. The Creed brothers, who they look like and emulate anyway. Brutus Creed hits a shooting star, and a good looking shooting star press at that, from the top rope to hit Pretty Deadly, and then hits him with that short clothesline, that sliding clothesline that they do to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. And the stipulation alongside with this match was, if the Creed brothers did not win their tag team match, the championships, then they would have to leave Diamond Mine. However, they didn't. It is to point out, though, the critical turning point of the match was, um, I believe it was the title was slid into the ring, and Julius Creed seen the belt, and he could have grabbed it. When he did grab it, and he could have hit one of the Pretty Deadly members with the belt, but he looks over at his father, who is ringside, and thinks better of it, puts it down, which ultimately leads them winning the belts. After the match, they celebrated with their father outside of the ring. Crowds going nuts. Don't know how this is going to go, because it looks like Roddy Strong is more heel, and the Creed brothers are just super over babyface. So inevitably, they're going to split from Diamond Mine. So we'll see how that is. If you follow NXT 2.0, you'll pretty much figure out what happens after that. So they did announce that on July the 5th, however, there will be another special, television special. It's the Great American Bash. So that'll be on Tuesday, July the 5th. But it leads us into, look, y'all, I wasn't look, I ain't playing no games on this. This NXT, it is what it is. Like I said, if you like it, I love it, but not necessarily for me. But because of you, you people, we watched it and we reviewed it. But it's not necessarily my cup of tea. But championship match, main event, you have Braun Breaker with 2Ks versus Joe Gacy, which which for some reason Braun Breaker has it out for the stage, the NXT logo, whatever. He basically bulls down the door or wall for his intro. Usually he's destroying some form of NXT logo. This time he just knocks over a wall on the set for In Your House because of course they have the set looking like the house like back in the day. Um, and all this took place in Orlando at the I don't want to call it the Performance Center, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Also, Braun was wearing some Scott Steiner inspired gear, looking and sounding like his uncle. Somewhere, someone's going to have to give me a paternity test for young Braun Breaker because he doesn't necessarily seem like Rick Steiner's son. He more favors Scott in every conceivable way, excuse me. So somebody give me the paternity. Somebody give me Mari because he ain't got nothing to do right now because they canceled his show. Somebody call Mari Povich, get him out there, get a paternity test, figure out which one's the father because I'm looking at Scott more than anything. White trash. So the match, the match was. I had said before the match started that it wasn't going to go more than 15 minutes. We are talking about a developmental program, which Braun is good. Braun is money. Braun is, they're strapping the rocket to his back, and soon he'll be on the main roster, um, fighting for the championship or undisputed, whatever they have at that point. But he's still a little green, but he's got everything. I mean, again, he's Scott Steiner reincarnated with a little bit of his father to kind of even him out. But it and then I don't even know what's going on with Joe Gacy and this his Ministry of Darkness or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know. They had to make a different decision with Joe Gacy and the direction they were going with his character because of the recent releases. But um, part of the stipulation for the championship match was that if Braun Breaker was disqualified, he lost the championship belt. So the Druids on the outside with Joe Gacy were playing a role. They were trying to do things to get Braun's temper because that's the psychology they were trying to play because he has that Steiner blood. He's hot headed. He's gonna disqualify himself and lose the championship. There was a point in the match where Joe Gacy tried to pull the old lie, cheat, steal. He slid a chair in the ring or brought a chair in the ring for himself and slammed it on the mat and then fell down and threw it to Braun, and Braun, like a dummy, still holding it in his hand when the referee slowly turns around and looks at him and he's looking at it, and then he finally puts it down. And one WWE has got to get, and this is all refs actually for wrestling, they got to get consistent. If you're going to bring the second, because the second ref came in the ring, first ref was going to disqualify Braun. A second ref came to the ring and said, no, no, no. He slid the ring. He didn't hit him with the chair, yada, yada, yada. If we're going to do this with this situation, wrestling, we got to do it with all situations. If that's the case for this, if someone puts the foot on the rope and they still count the three, somebody needs to come out from the back and slide out and say, nah, my foot was on the rope. You can't just pick and choose because it makes no sense, but whatever, it's wrestling. But there was a point in the match where Joe Gacy was on the apron and Braun Breaker just barrels through him with a spear and knocks him into the announcer's table. And Joe Gacy looked like he flopped like a fish because the table didn't break like it normally would. It kind of just buckled and gave way and slid where Joe Gacy's weight just kind of made it fall under itself. It looked like it hurt Joe Gacy's back. He didn't show any issues with his back or anything like that. It just looked like it hurt like crap. So anyway, it comes out. Braun Breaker's able to spear Joe Gacy. He's able to put him into the gorilla press, into the drop down power slam that he does like Goldberg, for the 1, 2, 3 win, and he retains his championship. So on this entire show that lasted about 2.5 hours, thank God it lasted only about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was the North American Championships that changed hands and the men's tag team championships that changed hands. So, again, by all means, the wrestling was good. I didn't see really any issues with any of the wrestling on the show. However, the storylines aren't for me. If you're willing to give NXT 2.0 a shot, check it out on your Tuesday nights. It's it's 2 hours of NXT, not black and gold. Um, but it was a show, and it didn't necessarily suck. And if only y'all could see what my producer's doing right now. I'm getting a lot of Cactus Jack vibes, a lot of toothless aggression vibes going on here in my ear and on my screen. But um, that was it, guys. Um, if you haven't already, please check out. There was a brand new 60-second sips that dropped this evening during the NXT 2.0. Go check that out. If you haven't seen it already, a premiere of the Shot of Brew came out this afternoon as well, right before the NXT show. If you like those, please continue to like, share. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. Remember, on those 60-second sips, if you have a beer, it does not matter what kind of beer. It could be craft beer, it could be domestic. I don't care what it is. If it's a beer and you want to know more about it and you want to suggest it in the comments so that Over Here Boy can do a beer review on it if you're curious. You can even do it over on our Instagram channel. We have our Instagram, it's right down here. You can look, see it over here. The Instagram's right over here. Go to our Instagram. Go check us out over there. The 60-second sips are on there. Check us out on Twitch. That Twitch, I don't think that Twitch is correct down there. It's all one. It's Bros, Brews, and Botches. If you just look it up without the underscores on Twitch, you'll find us on there. Um, you can find me on Twitter, Badass Yellow Boy, BADAZZ_YELLABOI 1914. You can always find Over Here Boy on Twitter at Over Here Boy. Easy enough. And you can find Hogs Wars at Wamplers Getting Sausage. Um, if you're watching, what's up there, Hogs Wars? Enjoy that sausage. It's homemade, handmade, and ready for you to heat up, brother. Um, But again, y'all, thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for taking y'all time out. Please continue to give us feedback. Please continue to all the love. I've said it over and over again. Thank you so much. But that was NXT in your house. And I'm